You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. We've got a lot of things to address. Because there's some things that need talking over. I'm going to continue hammering home the point about how Mike Mularkey is a bad coach. I don't think that you need me to tell you that Mike Mularkey is a bad coach, but Mike Mularkey is a bad coach, and he's ruining Marcus Mariota. And I don't want to see Marcus Mariota's name turn up in the list of quarterbacks who are a bust, because there's plenty of reasons why quarterbacks become busts. I'll give you those reasons, and the reason why Marcus Mariota is in serious danger as long as Mike Mularkey remains head coach of the Tennessee Titans. I also want to address a rumor about a certain coach that we all know possibly coaching LSU at the end of this season. I think it's very interesting, and I think you will find it interesting as well. And, of course, the Ryder Cup is over. Team USA beat Team Europe, and it still continues to be awesome. The Ryder Cup is probably one of the coolest things that's happened over the past weekend, and I didn't get to touch on it at all yesterday, but I will get into a lot of that today. And then, of course, some questions about Tennessee. There's a lot of questions about Tennessee, one of which is, can Tennessee actually start a game playing well? We know they can finish it, but can they actually start a game playing well? Because they're going to have to win against A&M this Saturday in College Station. However, before we jump into any and all of those things, let me talk to you about the platforms. It's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's YouTube. That's right, the social media platforms. Where can you find us, and where can we reach out to you? I recommend Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. On YouTube, you can stream all of our local shows live, get to see what we look like, get to see what the inside of our studio looks like. If you want to see my ugly mug, you are very much welcome to do so. And you can check us out on Facebook, where we stream our station on Facebook. Nobody else even does stuff like that. Facebook. And, of course, we always reply, and we give you the best in Chattanooga sports, weather, news, and traffic. And, of course, Noogaradio.com. That's Noogaradio.com. Streaming live. You can check out a number of things, our half-off deals, and whatever else is on the page. And, of course, never, ever, ever fail to mention the TuneIn Radio app, which is free in your favorite app store. Simply search Hot News Talk Radio in the app, give us a favorite, and press play. You'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. That's Hot News Talk Radio and the TuneIn Radio app. Listen like you mean it. So I want to address some rumors here, because there is talk of a certain head coach heading to LSU. Without Les Miles, I want to keep Ed Orgeron, just to be clear. I like him. I like the fact that when he does his interviews, he sounds like Cookie Monster, and I can't understand a word he's saying. I think that's perfect. I don't want anything else for LSU. I want a Cajun head coach for the Tigers. It has to happen. But it might not happen. They might choose to go in a different direction. And one name that's being batted around, and this is a mild rumor. It's not a rumor that's being taken seriously, but I want to jump into a hypothetical here with you because I think that it's entertaining. Art Briles, the recently disgraced Art Briles of the Baylor Bears, who was fired not because the man can't coach, but because his players were involved in acts of sexual violence. He may or may not have known. He's the head coach of the football team. I believe he knew. And he turned the other way. Is Art Briles a great fit for LSU? Well, morally, no. No, Art Briles is not a great fit. We knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing at Baylor. He turned a blind eye on purpose. Okay, you could make whatever argument you want for Art Briles and how he's a good person in other areas of his life. There, he was not being a good person. That's not what good people do when you find out someone is being sexually assaulted or having acts of sexual violence perpetrated against them, and you turn a blind eye for the sake of football. And he might do it again if you bring him on your campus. He might get your school in trouble. But more importantly, it's not what LSU is about. And, of course, the young women of LSU will be less safe. I think so if you hire Art Briles. On a moral level, do you touch Art Briles with a 9-foot pole? Absolutely not. But why would LSU actually entertain this conversation? They would entertain this conversation because Art Briles gives you the best chance to win. He gives you the best chance to win. If you're looking for the best opportunity for victory, it's got to be Art Briles. He is a hell of a recruiter and also an amazing X's and O's guy. Okay, he's a head coach. He's one of the few head coaches right now. He starts coaching your football team. You are better right away. He's a top 3 coach. And I'm not talking about counting rings and counting credentials and looking at who's got what. If you looked at the top 3 guys who start coaching your team and your team is better today, Art Briles is on your list. The other one is Urban Meyer. The other one is Nick Saban. Start coaching your team right now. You're better. Without getting a single new commit, your football team is better. Just outside the top 3, Jim Harbaugh. I mean, you have to look at what he did for Michigan. Walked into Michigan and made Michigan a better football team. Year 1. Art Briles is that type of guy. The talent that you've got on your roster, if he starts coaching it, you've got winning football. You're winning football games today. Your practices are better today. Your players are better today. And if you're worried about the firestorm that Art Briles is going to bring to your school, because he's going to bring all the media attention, he's going to bring the ESPNs, he's going to bring networks that don't even cover sports. He's going to bring the CNNs and the MSNBCs and the Fox Newses. He's going to bring all of those people to your doorstep. Is Art Briles worth the headache? Absolutely. Just from a winning standpoint. Again, we're not talking about morals here. From a winning standpoint, if you want to win, Art Briles is the guy you need to be looking at. He'll come in and he'll win right away. And sure, is he going to bring a firestorm to your doorstep? Absolutely. Especially with that weak apology he gave about 3 weeks ago. Apology that went something like this. Quote, "So I understand that I made some mistakes, and for that, I'm sorry. But I'm not trying to plead for people's sympathy. I'm just saying that, hey, I made some mistakes. I was wrong. I'm sorry." Which sounds awful. That's a terrible apology. But I understand that apology is something that's difficult to do in America. We don't apologize very well, just as a nation. People probably don't apologize well overall, but Americans are particularly awful at apologizing because there's something about having to humble yourself that Americans really don't like. We don't enjoy it at all. I'm not great at apologizing. I'm not pretending to be better than anybody else. We're not great at apologizing. It's very difficult to do. But the number of young women who were endangered at Baylor. Yeah, Coach Briles, we're going to need something a little stronger than that. And I'm not saying I didn't make mistakes. I'm just saying I'm sorry. Hey, I don't know what I could have done differently, but I'm saying I'm sorry. What is that? That is the weakest apology I've ever heard in my life. Somebody walked down the street and punched you in the face and then said, hey, I'm not saying I didn't make mistakes. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, how livid are you with them? Do you accept that weak apology? That's weak sauce. That is grade A certified weak sauce. I'm sorry. I made my mistakes. Something about the captain going down with the shit. Like, what are you doing, man? Really? I mean, this is one of the weakest apologies I've ever heard in my life. MSNBC shows up. Fox News shows up. They roast Art Briles alive in their coverage. I mean, it's that serious. You're going to get 12 ESPNW articles tomorrow. I mean, Art Briles isn't sorry. Art Briles is sorry that Art Briles got caught, but he's not sorry about what he did. And despite all of that, and the fact that when the media descends on your school, they are going to have a field day with your head coach, the fact does remain that your head coach will be winning football games active immediately. Art Briles is going to be winning football games right out the wazoo. You're not going to have to wait for results. You want to find out what Art Briles can do with a Brandon Harris? You're not going to have to wait. He will figure that out right away. With a record of 99-65, 8 years of Baylor, most of which were winning seasons. When Art Briles got to Baylor, they were horrible. A joke in the Big 12, an afterthought. A team that couldn't play defense or offense. Still don't play defense, but under Art Briles, they played a lot of offense. Baylor can score a lot of points, and that's all Art Briles doing. From the recruiting to the X's and O's to the plays that they run, the new stadium that got built. That's all Art Briles. The uniforms that they have, he turned that team into Oregon of the South. That's all him. You bring Art Briles to LSU, LSU will not ever have at any point in its history have been cooler. That's the coolest that school will ever be. And you'll be winning, and you'll be winning a lot. And you will be scoring a ton of points, and you will be exciting. You can have Art Briles as your head coach, and he would be worth all the pain and all of the headache that would come with having him. It would. The only thing that it wouldn't be worth is the soul that you would have to sell to have him coach your football team. Because, to be clear, Art Briles is all about giving players a second chance, players who have done horrible things. Art Briles has not ever been a disciplinarian, doesn't punish his guys. Your campus is less safe if you've got Art Briles as your head football coach, but you will win a lot of football games. So here is the question. The team that does hire Art Briles, and I'm not saying it's going to be LSU. I only brought it up because LSU has been tied to him. If your school does hire Art Briles, then I think you know what's more important on your campus. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And I want to talk about Marcus Mariota, man, because this is a situation that is profoundly disturbing, which is that Mike Mularkey is still somehow the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Didn't think he should have been hired at the end of last season. He filled in as the interim head coach, went 2-7. I didn't think he did a bad job as interim head coach. This is not a Mike Mularkey bashing session as such, so much as a I'm worried about Marcus Mariota. Can we save this guy session? Because this is his second year in the league. He is dead last in the NFL in QBR, according to ESPN. His quarterback rating is dead last in the league. And the reason why his quarterback rating is dead last in the league is that Mike Mularkey decided to hop into a time machine. Mike Mularkey wanted to play like it was the late 1990s, and he did it. This is a team, they don't use 3-4 wide receivers on a lot of their plays. They don't operate out of the shotgun in a lot of their plays. And I talked about it before the season began that Mike Mularkey wanted to go under center more with Marcus Mariota. And it makes no sense for a number of reasons, right? One big reason being that the league is moving away from that. The league is moving away from having your guys line up under center, from having blocking tight ends, from having 2 fullbacks on your roster. The league is moving away from 1 and 2 wide receiver sets and has been trending away from that forever. Is Mike Mularkey crazy? Well, he might be. He's trying to play football like it's 1998. You mean when Marcus Mariota was 7. Nobody in the NFL plays football like that anymore. Even the teams that you look at that are offensively challenged tend to be offensively challenged because they don't have the talent to do what everybody else is doing. But make no mistake, their offenses are designed similarly. Nobody is trying to work exclusively under center anymore. And then the other problem with this is this. Marcus Mariota is not used to this. Marcus Mariota became a household name in college for doing the exact opposite of what it is that Mike Mularkey wants him to do. Marcus Mariota didn't play under center. He was in the gun. Marcus Mariota didn't have a fullback and a running back in the backfield. He played in a spread. And here is Mike Mularkey talking about how he wants Marcus Mariota to be under center. The league average of snaps under center has plummeted. This is the average of the league. Plays in the shotgun. In 2011, it was 41%. 41% of plays run in the NFL were in the shotgun. Now, it's 62%. 62. We increased 21%. Over half the plays in the league are now from the shotgun. Mike Mularkey wants to go more under center. Since 2011, teams have averaged about 6 yards per shotgun play as opposed to 5 under center. I mean, the stats are speaking for themselves. And then also, there's Marcus Mariota himself. Even if you exclude the rest of the league, Marcus Mariota himself passes and runs better out of the gun than from under center. I understand that you drafted Derrick Henry and that you've got DeMarco Murray, but you didn't draft Marcus Mariota so that you could build your football team around Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray. This is a quarterback's league. You have to be able to throw the football. Don't turn your team into a running team in 2016. At that point, why not start giving the Titans players leather helmets? Just go all the way back. You know what I mean? Let's just eliminate the forward pass entirely. Just be a triple option team. What is he, insane? Mike Mularkey's not our guy. He's not the guy. The Titans are not going to win with Mike Mularkey. Mike Mularkey's own track record speaks louder than I can. Mike Mularkey is at the beginning of this season was 18-39 as a head coach. The Titans are 1-3. And despite the fact that Mike Mularkey keeps saying, well, the team's pretty close, you have the slowest offense in the league. Your quarterback has the worst quarterback rating in the league. You've invested in no wide receivers for him. Sure, you've got big offensive linemen. You've got solid running backs. Your quarterback can't throw to anybody, which is why you're down 7 points, trying to make a drive at the end of the game on Sunday, and you can't do it. You don't have receivers. None. Dorial Beckham-Green, he's an up-and-comer, right? Traded him for a lineman. Look, that is football philosophy straight out of 1996. Nobody builds football teams like that anymore. And certainly nobody that's seen or sniffed the Super Bowl in the last 5 years has done it. Mike Mularkey is going to ruin the Tennessee Titans this season, but he might have an even long-term effect on Marcus Mariota. This is Clutch with Keon Rose on Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Thanks for joining me today. Stick around. Fox Sports has a story on the 9 teams that could beat Alabama. Are they coming up on the schedule? We'll get into that next.
News Talk 1240 AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your chance to win $124 in cash and $124 in food every week with the Hot News Talk Radio 1, 2, 3 NASCAR contest. Hot News Talk 1240. All you have to do is guess who's going to be first, second, and third place in the upcoming NASCAR Sprint Cup race. If you guess it, you'll hear your name live Monday morning at 11:30. Then call AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio to win. Enter your guess right now at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. Diesel Off-Road Technology Saudi Daisy for your four-wheel drive and truck needs. Stuff and upholstery with premium rubber foam. Amigos Mexican Restaurant next to Staples and Hickson. Drink specials during the race. Cell Surgeon, the Broken Screen Doc. And Shooter's Supply, 4824 Hickson Pike in Hickson. Hot News Talk 1240. Enter your guesses now and listen to the race live to win $124 in cash and $124 in food from Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. Hot News Talk 1240. I love NASCAR. Shooter Supply, any A-frame, 20% off, 10% off, 5% off, everything in the store's on sale. 5, 10, 20, September sales days. Shooter Supply, handguns, carry permit classes, ammo and gear. You'll get 5% off of firearms, 10% off of ammo and gear, 20% off of all handgun carry permit classes. Shooter Supply, September sales days. But you gotta get here now. It's ending soon. Shooter Supply, any A-frame. We're on Hickson Pike, right around the corner, right next to the Holiday Inn Express. Shooter Supply and Indoor Range. Shooters-range.com. Order online. Shooters-range.com. September sales days.
Hi, this is Mike at Wholesale Liquidation, Highway 58, next to Taco Bell, featuring over 6,000 square feet of unique and everyday wholesale items, discounted to, get this, 50 to 75% off of retail, from new and pre-owned tools to chainsaws and auto accessories. Wholesale Liquidation, Highway 58, next to Taco Bell.
You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, tradebank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation, 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
This is Mike at For the Record at Northgate Mall. We're the largest complete record store in town. We sell old and new vinyl records, celebrity posters, music posters, and we are the largest in town. Come see us.
Expect mostly clear skies to continue through the nighttime. A little milder overnight, lows near 60. For the midweek, not much change. Still looking dry for the next several days with lots of sunshine, warm afternoons, highs into the mid-80s, overnight lows 58 to 60. America seems to be unraveling at a rapid pace. Dr. Ron Phillips pulls back the curtain and exposes those who are pulling the strings in his explosive book, The Unraveling of America, available today at Amazon or ronphillips.org. And I'm Sorgene 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Taco 40 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. It started out as what would have been a normal marijuana purchase in Chattanooga, but ended with a broken foot and a machete attack. A young man was walking home from school after being dropped off by a bus when he saw a red car with 3 men inside of it. The 3 men offered him marijuana. He gave them money, and when he did, a man jumped out of the car with a machete and demanded the rest of his money. He handed it over. 2 men jumped out of the car, picked him up, and threw him to the ground, shattering his foot. The young man apparently knew the man with the machete and picked him out of a photo lineup. Dante Miller, who's 20 years old, is now charged with aggravated robbery. An update now on that hit and run on Highway 153, where a Hispanic man was found dead in the road. It's been found out that he was hit by a 22-year-old motorcyclist, a student. Police do not believe that the initial wreck is the fault of the motorcyclist, but leaving the scene of the accident is a crime. Former Spring Hill police officer Christopher Odom has been arrested and indicted after multiple allegations came forth that he groped women during traffic stops. He's been arrested and charged. $75,000 is his bond. It was going on the Tennessee Valley. It's going on Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Truex Jr. is off the pace and he is headed to the pit lane. Elliott Collins around the outside. Michael McDowell pops the right front tire. Here's Martin Truex to the bottom. Blaney blocks him off too. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Hot News Talk 1240. The voice of NASCAR.
You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Alabama's got a rough time coming up. That schedule is absolutely brutal. It might be the most brutal schedule because we were talking about Tennessee right now, right? Tennessee is on probably the toughest stretch of their entire season. If you look at it, Florida, Georgia, A&M, Alabama, which the Florida-Georgia part obviously looks a whole lot less scary now that you won both those games. But the A&M part is a little bit more scary because A&M is scary because A&M does something that nobody really gives them credit for. That team can run the ball. That team can run the ball. And if you fall behind Texas A&M in a football game, you can lose it very easily. Try not to do that this time. And we're getting to some talk about how it is that Tennessee is built, because Tennessee is built for something that they have not actually had to do. And I don't know if Tennessee will ever be able to display what it is that they're actually designed for, because A, their coach, and B, they are always playing from behind. It feels like Tennessee is always playing from behind, except because you know how in the NFL, the San Diego Chargers always look like they're playing from behind? The main difference being that the Chargers never actually win when playing from behind. Like, you feel like the Chargers are eternally playing from behind and eternally getting beaten. They're always down in the fourth quarter. Phillip Rivers is forced to do something absolutely foolish or ridiculous in order to get the Chargers some kind of victory. It's weird. It's a very strange thing. The Titans, the Vols don't have that same problem. But look, try not to be playing from behind all the time. It's not something that you can do every week. You can't rely on that. And when you start to play against some of these better teams, they're gonna close the door on you. You get behind 17-3, 21-3, 17-0. They're gonna put you to sleep. A&M didn't put South Carolina down the way I thought that they should, which is how I know that the Vols are good enough to hang with them. But don't mistake that for you can beat that team if you fall behind. Don't mistake it for that, because you can't. Nobody can. You cannot beat that team if you fall behind Texas A&M 21-3. You don't have a miracle comeback waiting for you. You have a loss. You go down 21-3 to A&M at halftime. Okay, It's going to be like the FedEx guy with a sheet of paper asking you to sign for that L, my dude. Sign for that L. Do not be behind Texas A&M by a very large margin going into halftime. You ain't going to win it. It's not about to happen. That's the test that Tennessee has to go through, right? And so far, they are succeeding, but I think there are some habits that they're going to need to change if they want to be able to win, right? And Fox Sports did something pretty amazing. They released an article about the 9 teams in the NFL, or in the NFL, in college football, that can beat Alabama. The 9 teams on everybody's radar. And I have trouble believing there's only 9 teams that can beat Alabama. A lot of these schools could beat Alabama if you gave them enough time to prepare. Again, it's about the preparation time. And Alabama, again, I'm not saying they're any slouch. Alabama, they're a great football team. But number 9 on their list is who Alabama is playing next week. That'd be the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas really could stick it to Alabama. It's the toughest challenge the Crimson Tide have had to face all season. Because we thought maybe USC might be something of a challenge, could be a good game. Nope. Got waxed 52-6 to start the season. And boy, the poor Trojans haven't recovered since. And Bama hasn't played anybody since. Alabama has more or less walked through every team with the exception of Ole Miss. Ole Miss is the only quality opponent that they've played, and Ole Miss has a penchant for only giving you half a football game. You need 4 quarters to get $1 in this world. And you need four quarters to beat Alabama and also Florida State. But in this case, Alabama. You need it. Ole Miss can't give it to you. So the deal here with Arkansas is that Arkansas has found their mojo again. First off, Arkansas is very hard to beat in Arkansas. Nick Saban hasn't destroyed Arkansas in his entire time at Alabama. And this is a great write-up by Aaron Torres of FoxSports.com. The Razorbacks, have they beaten Nick Saban? No. But the Crimson Tide got a 14-13 victory over there in 2014. And they had to come back from a 13-0 deficit. And we're not going to go back to when John L. Smith was the head coach there. But Brett Bielema's got a recipe. If Arkansas gets a lead, they're going to run you to death. The clock now becomes the enemy of whoever trails Arkansas. They're very good at running the clock out because they're just very good at running. That is what they do. Since Brett Bielema's been there, you don't have to know the name of an Arkansas running back. They run. That's what they do. And they're a team that has got as good a shot as anybody at taking out Alabama. The LSU Tigers could also beat Alabama. And they went from, yeah, they could beat Alabama, and then you saw the way they started the season, and you went, maybe they can't beat Alabama. And now you're back to, they really can beat Alabama. Because what LSU did last week is incredible. 6 days after firing a former NFL offensive coordinator who was their offensive coordinator, 6 days after firing their head coach, LSU beats down Missouri 42-7, and they have more yardage in a football game than they have ever had in the history of LSU football. All of a sudden, LSU looks like they can really score points. In the history of LSU football, 620 yards in a single game. 6 days after firing Les Miles. And what's more, they did it without Leonard Fournette. Imagine the carnage. Alabama facing off against LSU in Death Valley looks like that's going to be a really good game again, and it's not going to look like previous Alabama LSU games. Because you know the previous Alabama LSU games. They're boring. You know exactly why. They're boring. And you know how I know they're boring? Because people watch those games and go, those games were defensive duels. That's code for boring. That's code for nobody scored points. That was a defensive duel. It was cool watching those two defenses duke it out like that. You mean it was cool watching those two offenses sputter? It was cool watching those two offenses fail to move the ball up and down the field regularly? Yeah, Alabama LSU games have historically been boring. But the way that Alabama has been playing football, and if LSU can keep this up, yeah, we've got ourselves a football game, ladies and germs. They play LSU November the 5th down in Death Valley, which is obviously a difficult place to play. It's in the name. Clemson is a school, according to the article, that can also beat Alabama. They very nearly did in the national title game. I don't think this requires any explanation. And Clemson proved last week against Louisville, they're not gone. The people are starting to shovel dirt on the casket of the Clemson Tigers. They're not finished just yet. They're still here, baby. They're still here. Clemson's not going anywhere, and Deshaun Watson looks as good as he ever has. Sure, the interceptions and the fumble didn't look good last week. But you know what? When you complete over 60% of your passes and you have 2 late-game touchdowns, I'm inclined to believe that you can still ball. The Michigan Wolverines are a team that they've listed, and yeah, like now you're listing like the Washington Huskies. Yeah, okay, those are schools that could beat Alabama. And I think that limiting the list to just 9 is a little short-sighted. There's a lot of schools that could beat Alabama if given enough time to prepare. And most of the schools that aren't in the SEC on this list would only be able to play Alabama in a national title game, which they would have a month to prepare for Alabama. So on the list is also Louisville and Ohio State. Ohio State's number 1. And I'm not going to lie, I would punch somebody in the face for a Louisville Alabama game. And I would punch 2 people in the face for an Ohio State Alabama game. Those would be some exciting football games. So who knows what the national title and the college football playoff have in store for us. I'm just saying Alabama might not make it out of the SEC alive. I mean, this schedule is absolutely bonkers because next week they play Arkansas. The week after that, they play Tennessee. The week after that, they play Texas A&M. Then they have their bye week. Then they play LSU in Death Valley. Just talked about that. Then they play Mississippi State. Then they play the Mocs, which do I think that Alabama is going to beat UTC pretty badly. But if an FCS school could do it, the Mocs score lots of points. Don't fall asleep on that team. Then they end the season with the Auburn Tigers. And I'm not going to lie, I don't know what the hell Auburn is. That could be a tough game. You got the Iron Bowl. It's a big game for Auburn. They don't want to lose to you. I don't know if Gus Malzahn is a good coach anymore. I mean, sure, they beat ULM 52-7. You're supposed to do that, but I don't know what that means anymore. I used to know. And Gus Malzahn is confusing me. And I no longer know if Gus Malzahn is a good coach anymore. That might actually be a tough game for Alabama. No idea. But I'm saying they have the toughest schedule in college football. I don't think that is up for debate at all. This schedule just turns brutal on them. I don't even blame them for their Western Kentucky scheduling that they had in there. Then they got Kent State, and they've got Kentucky. Like, having UTC, Kent State, and Western Kentucky on your schedule, most people would scoff at that and go, that's an easy schedule. And usually, that would make for an easy schedule. Except Alabama plays the SEC West. So it ain't. It's about as brutal a thing as there is on this earth. That is a vicious run of games. Arkansas, Tennessee, Texas A&M, LSU, Mississippi State, and then maybe Auburn is scared. Ugh. And if somehow you navigate all of that, you might meet Tennessee again in an SEC championship game, which means if you beat them the first time, you have to beat them again. No, thank you. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose. The Giants played the Vikings last night on Monday Night Football. And, man, Sam Bradford looks like a good quarterback. And I never thought I'd ever say those words. Because I'm pretty sure once you write the word bust next to somebody's name, you don't want to have to open the conversation again about how that guy might actually be good at what he does. Sam Bradford might actually be a good quarterback, which does kind of go back to our conversation about Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota is playing on a Titans team that is not helping him out offensively, and he doesn't look good. He's playing in a system that's unfamiliar. He's playing in a system that nobody uses. He's playing in a system that nobody has used since 1997. He is playing in an outdated system, and he is playing with no wide receivers whatsoever. Sam Bradford might just have had no good players, no good coaches. Sam Bradford might have been understaffed. He played for the Rams, so we didn't care. The Rams are just bad. We know they're bad. So we just didn't pay attention to them. Who knew what it was that Sam Bradford was out there doing? And then, besides being injured very often. But he hasn't been injured lately. Sam Bradford has been very healthy as of late. And now he's got weapons on a Vikings team that doesn't try and fit him into a system that doesn't make any sense. And he's got a defense behind him that actually gets him the ball back. And all of a sudden, Sam Bradford is looking like a legitimate NFL quarterback. Is Teddy Bridgewater in danger of losing his job while he is out with a knee injury? The answer to that question, of course, is yes. He's very, very much in danger of losing his job. Because Sam Bradford looks good. People laughed at the Vikings when the Vikings had to make that trade for Sam Bradford. And to be clear, they did have to make that trade for Sam Bradford. You have a team that's capable of winning your division. Your starting quarterback goes down. Guess what? You got to go get another one. Because I'm sorry, we're just running out. Sean Hill is not a great answer. He's not a good quarterback. So you risk it on Sam Bradford. You trade a first rounder for Sam Bradford, which means for all intents and purposes, you might as well have drafted Sam Bradford next draft. You might as well have done it. You might as well have drafted Sam Bradford, right? Because he is one of those guys that you look at and go, well, maybe he just is what he is. Like you thought you saw the ceiling on Sam Bradford. No, you did not see the ceiling on Sam Bradford. Now you have seen the ceiling on Sam Bradford. You know what? He looks darn good. He looks really good. at coaching or at playing football. I mean, he commands the pocket. He throws accurate passes. He's got players that give him yak now. Stephon Diggs is giving him so much yardage after the catch. I don't think I've seen Sam Bradford look so happy. He looks legitimate. He looks the part. And he might keep that job. He just very well might keep that job. That's probably the biggest observation from Monday Night Football. That, and of course, the Giants look really bad. And Odell Beckham Jr. became a superstar overnight. And boy, is he easy to eliminate from football games. If you have a good enough defense, you can erase him from the game entirely. 23 yards on a target for Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, that Vikings defense makes a lot of people look bad, but he looked really bad. He looked unwatchable. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And the Tennessee Volunteers are designed to do something. You look at the way this team is built, and you're like, what is the deal with them? The Tennessee Volunteers are designed for shootouts. They haven't played in one yet. And practically challenged Virginia Tech to one, but Virginia Tech didn't hang on to their end of the bargain. The Tennessee Volunteers are designed to win shootouts because they can score in a hurry. The reason why they never win shootouts is because they're always playing from behind. That is like playing in a shootout in which you spot your opponent 21 points, 17 points, and try and figure out how you're going to come back. And it makes for exciting football. Yesterday, I was wondering whether or not we were going to see the end of Smug or see the beginning of Smug Butch Jones. Will we ever see Smug Butch Jones? Because the man is, he's boring as burnt toast. He doesn't give you anything. His voice sounds like gravel. He reminds me of my economics teacher back in high school. And we are talking about Keynesian economics. I mean, just boring. Absolutely boring. His haircut is boring. His voice sounds boring. The stuff he says is boring. I bet that his music taste is boring. And that Butch Jones likes silent black and white movies. Butch Jones sounds like a boring guy. Not going to lie. A lot of coaches sound boring, but he sounds particularly boring. And it comes out in the way that he coaches his team, which is that Tennessee has one of the more conservative offenses ever. And I think that's one of the reasons why they lost a ton early last year, was he stayed conservative. At least now, in the second halves of games when Tennessee is losing, he'll make the adjustment. But he's going to have to find a way to stop being so conservative so early in football games because he's hurting the team. Tennessee is a team that can win a shootout. And if you're playing Texas A&M, I don't know if you've watched any Aggie football. You might find yourself in a shootout, and you're going to need to win it. And Tennessee, when you've got Josh Dobbs, who moves the pocket around, who moves defenders around, who forces defenses to pay attention to him and where he is at all times because of what he can do to you with his legs. And you've got a guy like Jawan Jennings who is so fast. It hurts. You are designed for a shootout. And the way that Alvin Kamara picked up when Jalen Hurd ended up getting knocked out of the game for a little bit there, you have a team that's designed for a shootout. You can score a lot of points in a very short amount of time. And when you add to the fact that your defense is really good and they force turnovers, because people have been calling the fumbles that Tennessee gets and when they get them luck. It isn't luck. That defense is good. They force turnovers at opportune moments. You've got a team that can win a shootout. but they're not ever being used that way because they are the most conservative first half team in college football. It is absurd. That's something that Butch Jones is going to have to change. Stop being burnt toast, my man. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours. But don't go anywhere. Alex Jones, he's next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Wars come and go, but my soldiers stay eternal.
Now you can listen to Hot News Talk Radio anywhere, streaming live at Noogaradio.com. That's Noogaradio.com.
Hot News Talk 1240.
We've got a table here at Delia's, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the